Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Romance Rewind Stories. Before we dive into today's incredible story, I have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying these heartwarming tales, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. It's quick, it's free, and it's the best way to support us in bringing you more emotional romance stories. And here's something I'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I always enjoy seeing our amazing community from around the world. Oh, and if this story touches your heart, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps us grow and reach more people who love these kinds of tales. Now, let's get into today's story. He kissed his shy secretary and realized then he could never let her go from him. The conference room on the 42nd floor of Sterling Industries was filled with tension, thick enough to cut with a knife. Jasper Sterling, 36-year-old CEO worth $9 billion, stood at the head of the table, his jaw tight with barely controlled fury as he faced the 12 board members who just delivered an ultimatum. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," Jasper said, his voice dangerously calm. "You're threatening to vote me out as CEO unless I get married within the next 6 months." "Not threatening, Jasper," said Richard Pemberton, the oldest board member and his father's former business partner. "We're simply expressing concern about the company's image. You're 30, running a family-oriented corporation, and your personal life is, well, it's non-existent. It doesn't inspire confidence in our stakeholders. My personal life is private." "Your personal life affects stock prices," Richard countered. "The shareholders want stability. They want a CEO who represents family values. Right now, you represent a playboy billionaire who can't commit to anything except his quarterly earnings." Jasper's hands clenched at his sides. The accusation was unfair and inaccurate. He wasn't a playboy. He was simply too busy building his late father's company into something extraordinary to waste time on relationships that would inevitably fail. "This is ridiculous," Jasper said. "My relationship status has nothing to do with my ability to lead this company." "Perhaps not," Richard agreed, "but perception matters. And right now, the perception is that you're incapable of long-term commitment. That makes investors nervous." "6 months," another board member added. "That's our timeline, Jasper. Get engaged, show us you're capable of building something lasting, or we'll be forced to consider other leadership options." The meeting ended shortly after, leaving Jasper seething in the empty conference room. He loosened his tie, staring out at the Manhattan skyline, his mind racing through options. He could fight the board, but that would create internal conflict that could damage the company. He could ignore them, but they had the votes to make good on their threat. Or he could find a way to give them exactly what they wanted while maintaining control of the situation. A soft knock on the conference room door interrupted his thoughts. "Mr. Sterling?" The voice was quiet, tentative. "I have the reports you requested." Jasper turned to find Meadow Hayes standing in the doorway, clutching a folder against her chest like a shield. She was his executive secretary, hired 8 months ago after his previous assistant had quit, citing his impossible standards and intimidating presence. Meadow was different from any secretary he'd ever had. At 27, she was young but incredibly competent, handling his chaotic schedule with an efficiency that bordered on miraculous. She was also painfully shy, blushing whenever he spoke directly to her, avoiding eye contact, and generally seeming terrified of him despite his best efforts to be professional and courteous. "Come in, Meadow," Jasper said, softening his voice. He'd learned over the past 8 months that anything approaching his usual CEO tone made her freeze like a deer in headlights. She entered slowly, her green eyes fixed on the carpet, her dark blonde hair pulled back in her usual neat bun. She wore a simple grey dress that was professional but did nothing to hide the grace with which she moved. "The quarterly reports," she said quietly, setting the folder on the conference table. And your 3 p.m. meeting with the Tokyo investors has been moved to 4 p.m. They apologize for the inconvenience. That's fine. Thank you, Meadow. She nodded, turning to leave. But Jasper found himself saying, "Wait." Meadow froze, her shoulders tensing. "Yes, Mr. Sterling?" Jasper studied her for a moment. In 8 months, he'd learned very little about Meadow Hayes beyond her professional capabilities. She never volunteered personal information, never joined office social events, and seemed to disappear the moment the workday ended. She was a mystery wrapped in efficiency and shyness. "How long have you worked for me?" 8 months and 12 days, she replied immediately, still not looking at him. Jasper was surprised she knew the exact number. "And in that time, have I ever done anything to make you uncomfortable?" Finally, her eyes lifted to his, wide with surprise. "No, Mr. Sterling, never. You've been nothing but professional and kind. Then why do you look terrified every time I speak to you?" Meadow's cheeks flushed pink. "I'm not terrified. I'm shy. I've always been shy. It's not you, Mr. Sterling. It's me." There was something endearing about her honesty, the way she admitted her social anxiety without making excuses. Jasper found himself taking a step closer, drawn by an impulse he didn't fully understand. "Meadow, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly." "Of course. Do you trust me?" Her answer came without hesitation. "Yes." "Good, because I'm about to propose something completely insane, and I need you to hear me out before you say no." Meadow's eyes widened further. Jasper took a breath. This was either brilliant or the stupidest idea he'd ever had. "The board just gave me an ultimatum. I need to get engaged within 6 months or they'll vote me out as CEO. "That's terrible," Meadow said, genuine concern in her voice. "It is, but I have an idea that could solve both our problems." "Both our problems? You're drowning in student debt from your law degree, aren't you? I saw the garnishment notice that came to HR last month." Meadow's face went from pink to red. "That's private." "I know, and I apologize for the invasion of privacy. But Meadow, what if I could make that debt disappear? All $150,000 of it." Her breath caught. "How?" "By agreeing to be my fake fiancé for 6 months. You help me convince the board I'm capable of commitment, and I pay off your entire debt plus a salary bonus of $200,000. Meadow stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You want me to pretend to be engaged to you?" "Yes." "For 6 months?" "Yes." "Mr. Sterling, that's insane." "Completely insane," Jasper agreed, "but also mutually beneficial. You get financial freedom. I keep my company. Everyone wins. Except it's fraud, lying to your board, to your employees, to everyone." "It's strategy," Jasper corrected, "and it's temporary. 6 months from now, we have a mutual breakup. You leave with your debt paid and enough money to start fresh, and I've proven to the board that I'm capable of commitment." Meadow was quiet for a long moment, clearly processing. Finally, she said, "Why me? You could hire anyone. Someone more confident, more comfortable with public attention. Because the board will be looking for deception. They'll scrutinize anyone I suddenly start dating. But Meadow, you're already part of my life. My schedule, my habits, my work. A relationship between us would make sense. It would be believable." "I don't know if I can do this," Meadow said softly. "I'm not good at lying. And I'm definitely not good at being the center of attention." "You wouldn't be the center of attention. You'd be my quiet, private fiancé who prefers to stay out of the spotlight. That's completely in character for you." Meadow bit her lip, considering. Jasper could see the internal battle playing out across her expressive face. "Think about it," Jasper said gently. "No more debt. No more working overtime to make minimum payments. Freedom to do whatever you want with your law degree. Meadow, this could change your life." "What would I have to do?" "Wear a ring, attend a few social events with me, convince the board we're in love." "That's it?" Meadow's voice was skeptical. "Mr. Sterling, convincing people we're in love requires touching and public displays of affection, and I'm not comfortable with." "We'll set boundaries," Jasper interrupted. "Nothing you're not comfortable with." hand-holding, maybe sitting close together at events. But nothing more unless you explicitly agree to it. Meadow, I promise you'll always have control. She studied his face, searching for deception. Can I have 24 hours to think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. But as Meadow left the conference room, Jasper already knew what her answer would be. He'd seen the hope flicker in her eyes when he mentioned paying off her debt. Meadow Hayes was going to say yes. He just didn't realize yet how much that yes would change everything. The next morning, Meadow arrived at his office at exactly 8 a.m., as she always did. But today, instead of quietly leaving his coffee and schedule on his desk, she stood in his doorway, her hands clasped tightly together. "Mr. Sterling, I've decided." Jasper looked up from his computer. "And?" "I'll do it. With conditions. Name them. First, we keep this completely professional. I'm not moving in with you or anything that might make people think this is real beyond work hours. Second, you tell me exactly what you need from me at each event so I can prepare. I don't do well with surprises. Third, when this ends, I get a reference letter that doesn't mention our fake relationship. I want to leave here with my professional reputation intact." "Agreed to all three," Jasper said immediately. "Anything else?" "Yes. I need you to promise that if I panic, if the anxiety gets too much and I need to leave an event early, you won't be angry." Something in her voice made Jasper's chest tighten. "Meadow, I would never be angry about that. Do you have a diagnosed anxiety disorder?" She nodded slowly. "Social anxiety. It's gotten better over the years with therapy, but large crowds and public attention can trigger panic attacks. I manage it with medication and coping strategies, but I need to know you'll understand if I have a bad day." Jasper stood up, moving around his desk to face her directly. "Meadow, thank you for trusting me with that. I promise, if you ever need to leave an event, we leave immediately. No questions, no judgment. Your well-being is more important than any business arrangement." Meadow's eyes met his fully, for the first time since he'd known her. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling. If we're going to be engaged, you should probably call me Jasper." She smiled tentatively. "Okay, Jasper." Hearing his name in her soft voice did something strange to Jasper's heartbeat. He cleared his throat. "Well then, I suppose we need a ring." "Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I'll have my jeweler send over some options. You can choose whatever you like. Whatever's believable." Meadow corrected. "This is business, remember?" "Right. Business." But as Jasper watched Meadow leave his office, he found himself wondering if maybe, just maybe, this was more than business already. The first test came 3 days later at the company's annual charity gala. Jasper had warned Meadow it would be a high-profile event with board members, investors and media in attendance. He'd offered to cancel, to wait for a smaller, more manageable introduction to their fake relationship. Meadow had refused. "Let's do this right. The bigger the stage, the more convincing it needs to be." Now, standing in his penthouse waiting for Meadow to arrive, Jasper adjusted his bow tie for the third time and wondered if he'd made a terrible mistake. Meadow was shy on a good day. Asking her to pretend to be in love with him in front of hundreds of people might trigger exactly the kind of panic attack she'd warned him about. The doorbell rang at exactly 6:30 p.m. Jasper opened it and forgot how to breathe. Meadow stood in the hallway, wearing an emerald-green dress that brought out the color of her eyes. Her usually restrained hair was styled in loose waves around her shoulders, and she wore just enough makeup to highlight her features without hiding them. She was beautiful. How had he worked with her for 8 months without noticing how absolutely beautiful she was? "Is this okay?" Meadow asked nervously, misinterpreting his silence. "The stylist your assistant hired said this dress would photograph well, but if it's too much—" "You look perfect," Jasper said, his voice coming out rougher than intended. "Absolutely perfect." Meadow's cheeks flushed that familiar pink. "Thank you. You look very handsome too." They stood there for a moment, both suddenly aware that this was different from their usual professional interaction. This felt almost like a real date. "We should go," Jasper said finally. "The car's waiting." Boom! In the limousine, Meadow was quiet, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Jasper noticed she was breathing in a specific pattern. 4 counts in, hold, 4 counts out. A calming technique, he realized. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. "Just preparing. Large crowds trigger my anxiety, so I'm using my coping strategies before we arrive. We don't have to do this tonight. We can say you're sick." "No." Her voice was firm despite her obvious nerves. "I said I'd do this, and I will. I just need a minute." Jasper found himself reaching over to take her hand. The gesture was meant to comfort, but the moment their skin touched, something electric passed between them. Meadow's eyes snapped to his, wide with surprise. "Sorry," Jasper said, starting to pull back. "I should have asked first." "No, it's okay." Meadow's fingers tightened around his. "Actually, it helps, having someone to hold on to." They held hands for the rest of the drive, neither speaking, but both acutely aware of the warmth and connection flowing between them. The gala was everything Jasper had warned her about. Journalists, hundreds of people in designer clothes, milling around the grand ballroom. The moment they stepped out of the car, camera flashes exploded around them. Jasper felt Meadow freeze, her hand tightening painfully around his. He leaned down to whisper in her ear, "Look at me, just me. Everyone else disappears. It's just us." Meadow lifted her eyes to his, and Jasper was struck by the trust he saw there. She was terrified, but she was trusting him to get her through this. Without thinking, acting purely on instinct and a desperate need to protect her from the overwhelming chaos, Jasper cupped her face with his free hand and kissed her. It was meant to be quick, strategic, a way to give the photographers their shot, while giving Meadow something to focus on besides her anxiety. But the moment his lips touched hers, everything changed. Meadow made a small sound of surprise, then softened against him, her free hand coming up to rest on his chest. She tasted like mint and hope, and something indefinably sweet. Jasper felt the world narrow to just this moment, just this woman, just this kiss that was supposed to be fake, but felt more real than anything he'd experienced in his entire life. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Jasper looked down at Meadow and had a single, crystal-clear thought. "I can never let her go." The realization hit him with the force of a freight train. This wasn't supposed to be real. This was supposed to be a business arrangement, but somewhere between proposing this insane plan and this moment, with Meadow looking up at him like he'd hung the moon, Jasper had fallen completely and irrevocably in love with his shy secretary. "Wow," Meadow breathed, her anxiety apparently forgotten. "That was convincing," Jasper supplied, trying to keep his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I was going to say perfect, but convincing works too." They made their way into the gala, and Jasper was amazed to watch Meadow transform. She stayed close to his side, using him as a shield from the overwhelming crowd. But she smiled and answered questions when board members approached. She was quiet, letting Jasper do most of the talking, but her presence beside him felt natural. "Right. Jasper." Richard Pemberton approached them during dinner, his expression approving. "I have to say, I'm impressed. When did this happen?" "Recently," Jasper said, his hand finding Meadow's under the table. "We've been keeping it quiet. Well, she's lovely, and clearly has a calming effect on you. I don't think I've ever seen you this relaxed at a company event." After Richard walked away, Meadow leaned close to whisper, "See, we're convincing." "We are," Jasper agreed. "Meadow, about that kiss, it's okay," she said quickly. "I know it was for show, for the cameras." "Was it?" Jasper wanted to ask. "Because it didn't feel like show to me." But the words stuck in his throat. The evening progressed smoothly until Meadow excused herself to use the restroom. She was gone for 10 minutes, then 15, then 20. Jasper was starting to worry when he found her in a quiet hallway, sitting on a bench with her head between her knees, breathing hard. "Meadow." He knelt in front of her immediately. "Talk to me. What happened?" "Panic attack," she managed between breaths. "Too many people, too much attention. I tried to manage it, but okay, it's okay. We're leaving right now." "No, you have the speech, the auction. You can't leave. Watch me." Jasper pulled out his phone and texted his assistant to make his excuses, then gently helped Meadow to her feet. "Come on, let's get you home." In the car, Meadow gradually calmed down, her breathing returning to normal. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I ruined everything." "You didn't ruin anything. Meadow, are you okay? Really okay?" "I will be. I just need quiet. And maybe to never go to another gala again." Jasper found himself smiling despite the situation. "I can arrange that." When they reached Meadow's modest apartment building, Jasper insisted on walking her to her door. She fumbled with her keys, clearly still shaky from the panic attack. "Let me," Jasper said gently, taking the keys and unlocking her door. "Thank you for leaving the gala, for not being angry." "Meadow, I could never be angry at you for having a panic attack. I'm just sorry I put you in a situation that triggered one." They stood in her doorway, neither wanting to end the evening, despite how it had gone. Finally, Meadow said, "Jasper, about the kiss." "It was for show," Jasper said, even though every fiber of his being wanted to tell her the truth. "I was trying to give you something to focus on besides the cameras." "Right, for show." But something in her voice sounded disappointed. Jasper made a decision. "Meadow, can I be honest with you? Always. That kiss, it wasn't just for show. Not for me. And I think maybe it wasn't just for show for you either." Meadow's eyes widened. "Jasper, I know this wasn't part of our arrangement. I know this complicates everything. But Meadow, somewhere between hiring you as my fake fiancé and tonight, I fell for you. Really fell for you." "You fell for me?" Her voice was small, disbelieving. "But I'm shy and anxious, and I had a panic attack at your company gala. I'm not exactly ideal girlfriend material." "No, you're perfect girlfriend material," Jasper said firmly. "Meadow, you're intelligent, kind, hardworking, and braver than you give yourself credit for. You faced your biggest fear tonight because you made a commitment. That's incredibly admirable. I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider giving this a real try. Not fake, not for the board, just us. Real dates, real getting to know each other, real possibility of something lasting." Meadow bit her lip, studying his face. "What if I have more panic attacks? What if I can't handle your public life? Then we'll figure it out together. Meadow, I don't need you to be someone you're not. I don't need you to attend every gala or be comfortable in the spotlight. I just need you to be yourself. That's all I've ever needed." "This is crazy," Meadow whispered. "This was supposed to be fake." "I know, but sometimes the best things start with the wrong intentions." Meadow took a shaky breath, then smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed her entire face. "Let's try. Real this time." Jasper felt relief and joy wash over him. "Real this time," he agreed. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he kissed her again, soft and sweet and full of promise. This time, there were no cameras, no audience, no performance. Just two people discovering that what started as pretend had become the realest thing in their lives. 6 months later, Jasper stood in his office, looking at the resignation letter Meadow had just handed him. "I don't understand," he said. "Why are you quitting?" "Because we're getting married," Meadow said, her engagement ring, a real one this time, chosen together, sparkling on her finger. "And I can't be your secretary and your wife. It's a conflict of interest." "So what will you do?" "I'm starting my own law practice, corporate law, specializing in small businesses." And Jasper, I'm finally ready to do it without fear because you taught me that being shy doesn't mean being incapable. Jasper pulled her close, marveling at how much she'd changed in 6 months. She was still shy, still struggled with social anxiety, but she'd found her strength, and he'd found his heart. I love you, he said simply. I love you too, even though you're a billionaire who proposed a completely insane fake engagement scheme. Best worst idea I ever had. The best, Meadow agreed, rising on her tiptoes to kiss him. Definitely the best. Because sometimes the right person walks into your life disguised as a business arrangement. Sometimes a shy secretary and a demanding CEO find exactly what they need in each other, and sometimes one kiss changes everything, revealing that what you thought was pretend was real all along, just waiting for you to be brave enough to recognize it. And that's where our story ends today. What did you think? Did Jasper and Meadow's story of fake engagement becoming real love touch your heart? Let us know in the comments what your favorite moment was. If you enjoyed this story, we have so many more waiting for you. Check out our playlist for more heartwarming romance tales that will make you believe in love all over again. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. Your support means everything to us. Until next time, keep believing in love, keep believing in second chances, and remember, the best stories are the ones that remind us we all deserve our happily ever after. See you in the next story.